Baina TV, connected to your world.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Baina Midday News, coming to you live from our news hub, Atomic Junction, Benab House, Accra. My name is Fawzia Abdullah. Coming up this afternoon, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana has raised concerns over discrepancies in the approval fees in 2025-2026 academic year by GTech. And in business, World Bank in its latest Global Economic Prospects report said the global economy is showing greater resilience than previously expected. And on the international front, thousands of people on Tuesday attended Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni's final campaign rally in the capital, Kampala, ahead of Thursday's general election. These and many more stories coming up in the next few minutes. Do stay. You're welcome back. You're watching Baina Midday News, and we're streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube at Baina TV. Now let's move on to our very first story. The Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Professor Nana Abba Appiah Ampho, has raised concerns over discrepancies in the approval fees and charges of the 2025-2026 academic year in a letter addressed to the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission. GTech had earlier released a statement outlining approved fees for the University of Ghana for the 2025-2026 academic year, stating that the move was aimed at ensuring transparency and addressing concerns about the institution's fee structure. In a statement released on Monday, January 12th, and signed by the Director General Ahmed Jinapor Abdullahi, GTech indicated that the academic facility user fee will be maintained at 2024-2025 rate, ensuring no increase for students. Other fees include Student Representative Council SRC dues of 50 Ghana cedis, SRC Development Levy of 150 Ghana cedis, Graduate Student Development Levy of 250 Ghana cedis, Telecel Broadband Levy of 122 Ghana cedis, applicable to undergraduate students, including freshmen. The statement also introduced 75th Anniversary Levy of 100 Ghana cedis, which will only be charged for the 2025-2026 academic year and is not expected to continue beyond this period. In a letter dated Tuesday, January 13, 2026, addressed to the Director General of GTech, the UG Vice Chancellor said some of the figures communicated by the Commission differ from agreements reached at a consultative meeting held on January 8, 2026 at the Ministry of Education. The meeting, chaired by the Deputy Minister for Education, included representatives of GTech, the Chair of the University Council, University Management, and student leaders. According to Professor Amfo, the agreed amount for the University of Ghana Student Representative Council Development Levy was 200 Ghana cedis, contrary to the figure announced by GTEC. She also clarified that the Telecel data bundle was agreed at 312 Ghana cedis and was clearly identified as an optional service, following a student-led survey that supported the enhanced data package. Professor Apia Amfo said the university is unclear about the basis for GTEC's request that the 75th anniversary levy be stopped after the current academic year. She assured that the University of Ghana will continue to engage with GTEC and the Ministry of Education to ensure the implementation of decisions taken at the January 8th meeting. Moving on, the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority has announced that owners of vehicles registered before 2023 will be required to pay 25 Ghana cedis to have their records updated onto the authority's digital system. Director of Driver Training, Testing and Licensing at DVLE, Kafui Semevo, explained that the digital onboarding exercise is aimed at verifying ownership of manually registered vehicles while preventing uncustomed vehicles from being captured in the system.
According to Kafui Semevo, vehicle holders will be required to personally visit DVLA offices or other designated centers with their vehicles, registration documents, customs declaration forms, and Ghana card for biometric verification. He urged vehicle owners who are yet to be enrolled on the DVLA's digital platform to take advantage of the exercise, noting that successful onboarding will enable them to obtain a title certificate and an electronic registration card. Kafui Semevo added that these documents will become mandatory when the new license plate policy is fully rolled out. He explained that under the new regime, individuals who return after its commencement will be required to pay for another card, a situation the authority seeks to avoid. As a result, he said, affected persons are only required to pay the verification at this stage. Once the new system becomes operational, they will be able to obtain their certificates with new numbers, a process he described as fair. Kafui Semevo also clarified that vehicles registered between January 2022 and December 2023 are not yet included in the onboarding process, and owners of such vehicles have been advised to wait until the DVLA officially invites them to participate.
Now, further in today's bulletin, the Eastern South Police Command has arrested a man identified as Kofi Ajiman for allegedly attempting to sell his 3-year-old son for an amount of 1 million Ghana cedis. The suspect, a resident of Kwaman in the Denchimboa district of the Eastern region, was arrested following intelligence gathered by the Akwetia police. Residents in the community disclosed that the suspect had confided in a friend about plans to sell his child due to severe financial difficulties. The information was subsequently relayed to the police, who initiated an operation by placing the suspect under surveillance. Police officers reportedly posed as prospective buyers and engaged the suspect in negotiations, during which an amount of 1 million Ghana cedis was allegedly agreed upon. The suspect is said to have brought the child to a designated meeting point where he was arrested. Other allegations suggest the suspect intended for the child to be killed for ritual purposes, after which the body would be returned to him to create the impression that the child had been murdered elsewhere. Police say these claims are part of ongoing investigations. Confirming the arrest, the Public Relations Officer of the Eastern South Police Command, DSP David Fianco Ochre, said investigations are underway to establish the full circumstances surrounding the case. The child has since been placed in protective custody as investigations continue. Away from that, the Minister for Health, Kwabena Minta Akando, has ordered a comprehensive audit of all health facilities in the Oti region as part of efforts to strengthen service delivery and safeguard patient safety. The directive shared on Facebook by the Ministry on Tuesday, January 13, 2026, requires the technical advisor to the Ministry of Health, Dr. Koku Awuno, to constitute a technical working group to assess the structural integrity, operational capacity, and overall productivity of health facilities in the region.
The order was issued during a two-day management retreat of the Ministry of Health and forms part of the government's broader agenda to improve oversight of health infrastructure and ensure that public health facilities across the country meet approved safety, quality, and performance standards. In addition to the audit, the Health Minister has directed the introduction of 24-hour cleaning services in all public hospitals nationwide to enhance hygiene and improve patient experience. The Ministry said the intervention is aimed at strengthening infection prevention and control measures and creating safer, more patient-friendly healthcare environments. According to the Ministry, the combined measures reflect its commitment to raising standards across the health sector through proactive supervision, improved facility management, and sustained investment in quality healthcare delivery.
You're still watching Baina Midday News. We'll be back with more stories after this short breather to stay.
It's back again. It's bigger and better. Brace yourselves for the third edition of the biggest pre-Ramadan fair in town. It's the Baina Trade Connect 2026. 2 days of endless sales and unmatched vibes. Mark your calendars on the 14th and 15th February 2026 at Zurak Park, Libya Cortez, Medina from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. each day. Come trade, come connect, come shop and have fun. To book a stand, contact 053-948-7757. Baina Trade Connect 2026. See you there.
You're welcome back and thank you for staying. If you just tuned in, you're watching Baina Midday News and we're streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube at Baina TV. Now let's delve into the world of business. And the World Bank, in its latest Global Economic Prospects report, said the global economy is showing greater resilience than previously expected despite ongoing trade tensions and policy uncertainty. Global growth is projected to remain broadly stable over the next 2 years, easing to 2.6% in 2026 before inching up to 2.7% in 2027. Both figures represent an upward revision from the bank's June forecast.
The improved outlook is driven largely by stronger than expected performance in major economies, particularly the United States, which accounts for nearly 2/3 of the upward revision to the 2026 growth forecast. Even so, The report warns that if current projections hold, the 2020s will be the weakest decade for global growth since the 1960s. Slow growth is also deepening global inequalities. By the end of 2025, almost all advanced economies had restored per capita income above pre-pandemic levels. In contrast, about one quarter of developing economies remained poorer than they were in 2019. Growth in 2025 was buoyed by a surge in trade ahead of anticipated policy changes and rapid adjustments in global supply chain. These temporary supports are expected to fade in 2026 as trade activities and domestic demands weaken. However, easing global financial conditions and fiscal expansion in several large economies should help soften the slowdown. Global inflation is forecast to decline to 2.6% in 2026, reflecting softer labor markets and lower energy prices. Growth is expected to pick up again in 2027 as trade patterns adjust and policy uncertainty eases. In developing economies, growth is expected to slow from 4.2% in 2025 to 4% in 2026, before edging up to 4.1% in 2027. The recovery is expected to be supported by eased trade tensions, stabilizing commodity prices, improving financial conditions, and stronger investment flows. The slow pace of growth could intensify the employment challenge in developing countries, where an estimated 1.2 billion young people will enter the labor force over the next decade. The World Bank says addressing this challenge will require a broad policy push focused on improving infrastructure, digital capacity, and human capital, strengthening the business environment through clearer and more credible policies, and mobilizing private capital to support investment.
Now let's move on to some news beyond our borders. And thousands of people on Tuesday attended Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni's final campaign rally in the capital Kampala ahead of Thursday's general election. The 81-year-old leader of the National Resistance Movement Party, who has ruled the country since 1986, is seeking a seventh term in office. One of Africa's oldest heads of state, his government has changed the constitution twice to remove age and term limits to allow him to stand in the polls. Despite his age and growing concern about his government's suppression of political opponents, human rights abuses, and corruption scandals, his supporters remain steadfast. Amid a sea of yellow, the ruling party's scholar, partisan Ima Akelo, said she has been impressed by his youth programs, but that more money should be directed to the poorest. Another NRM supporter, Gloria Ninsima, said under Museveni, women's rights have improved enormously. In his closing address, Museveni encouraged his supporters to vote, adding that any interference would be crushed. Ugandan authorities began deploying troops on Saturday in parts of Kampala, with armored trucks spreading into different parts of the city, a move that has alarmed opposition figures. The Ugandan Communications Commission also directed mobile internet providers to temporarily suspend services, citing misinformation, electoral fraud, and incitement of violence. Museveni's opponents in the presidential race, including 43-year-old pop star turned politician known as Bobi Wine, have also held rallies. The opposition leader, who stood against Museveni in 2021, has campaigned while wearing a flak jacket and helmet to protect himself from gunfire. The United Nations Human Rights Office says the vote is taking place in an atmosphere of repression and intimidation, with authorities detaining hundreds of opposition supporters. Now moving on to sports, newly appointed interim head coach of Real Madrid, Alvaro Arbeloa, says he is ready to stay in the head coaching role for as long as the club wishes. He said this is his first official press conference since being named head coach following the exit of Arbeloa's former Liverpool and Real Madrid playing mate Xabi Alonso on Monday, January 12th.
Alonso's 2-3 loss